Hello, I am Jennifer Bellamy, anchor with 11 Alive News in Atlanta, and welcome to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young debate series. This is the runoff debate among Republican candidates for Congressional District 2. So let's meet the candidates for this debate. They are in alphabetical order: Jeremy Hunt, who is a West Point graduate and former U.S. Army captain, and Chris West is a real estate developer and serves in the Georgia Air National Guard. Let's meet now our panelists: Ross Williams, a reporter for the Georgia Recorder, and Nick Wooten is a reporter with the Ledger-Inquirer. For complete rules on today's debate, please visit the Atlanta Press Club website, atlantapressclub.org. To start the debate, each candidate will be asked one question by each panelist. Candidates have 60 seconds to answer each question. Ross Williams, you will get the first question to Jeremy Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, there are about 20,000 Republicans in your district that voted for somebody else in the primary besides the two of you. What's your message to them? Why are you the best candidate for the runoff?
Absolutely. I appreciate that question. It's such an honor to be with you. And absolutely, I know I'm the only candidate in this race who can defeat Sanford Bishop once and for all. 30 years of Sanford Bishop, this Democratic incumbent who's been in office, who has not done anything for our district. It's time to finally defeat him and restore integrity and honor and have somebody who's a leader to go to Washington. And my plea is this: I'm the guy who can bring people together. I'm the person that's endorsed by our farmers. We have farmers all across the district who have supported me. I have the most sheriffs that have gotten behind me, who trust me to make sure we partner with law enforcement. And I'm thankful that I've been able to be engaged in different churches around our community. My father, I'm the son of a pastor. My father leads a congregation, a majority black church congregation. I'm excited. I've been involved in churches all around our district talking about the issues. We have an opportunity to bring together the coalition that it will take to defeat Sanford Bishop, and I'm the candidate who can do it.
All right, thank you so much. Nick Wooten, it is now your turn to ask a question to Chris West.
Mr. West, your family owns and operates a third-generation agricultural business in the district. What policies would you champion in Congress to be a better friend to the farmer than Sanford Bishop?
Well, thank you for that. So agriculture is critical to this district, and we know it because we have lived in it. As you said, our family has been in it for generations, actually going back before that, but the business is third generation. And our farmers, our farm families we're struggling. We're in perilous times because of what is coming out of Washington right now. These policies, gas prices, diesel fuel is through the roof. Farmers don't know how they're going to pay for fertilizer or diesel. They've got one, maybe enough money for one, but not the other. So we have got to first, number one, push back against the Biden policy agenda that is hurting our businesses and our families. And that's the first thing that we're going to do when we get to Washington.
Mr. Ross, your question now for Chris West.
My question is the same as for Mr. Hunt. What's your message to the 20,000 people in your district, Republican voters who had a different first choice?
Yeah, so I'm proud that I've been endorsed by three of the other former opponents in the race: Wayne Johnson, Vivian Childs, and Paul Whitehead. And they have stepped up and endorsed us because they know that I am the proven conservative that can win this race and beat Sanford Bishop. So my message to you, if you're a voter who voted for one of the other folks in the race, get informed. Take a look at both of us. I'd invite you to go to Facebook and look at my social media history. You'll find about 17 or 18 years worth of social media history where you'll see the issues that I've stood on. You'll find that I'm a proven conservative. Then I'd ask you to go take a look at Jeremy's. And I think what you'll find, in fact, I know what you'll find, you'll see that I'm the proven conservative and that I most represent your values, and I need your help. I need your vote.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we know, Chris has already begun with his lies. If you go back, please, you can look and see that I've been fighting for our conservative values all over since I was a young kid, fighting in Georgia, knocking on doors for our candidates to fight for truth. You can look at you can go all through Fox News and see the different things that I've put out there, the op-eds that I've written. I'm the only candidate who actually publishes where I stand on the issues. You can go to my website, Jeremy for Georgia. If you go to Chris's website, he has no issues page. We don't know where he stands on anything. But on ours, you can see where I've stood and where I've been for all of my life for the last several years. Thank you.
All right, and Nick, you get the final question of this round for Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, your address has been a topic of discussion during the primary and even through the runoff. State records show that you registered to vote in Muskogee County in February 2022. Your opponents have alleged that you were handpicked by D.C. elites to run in this race and that you have no connection to the district. Can you respond to that criticism?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Nick. You're right. I mean, Chris and the other candidates have been running basically a complete negative attack on me from the beginning that's full of lies. Here's the truth. I'm a sixth-generation Georgian. My grandmother was literally born in South Georgia. Her grandparents were freed slaves that literally worked the land in South Georgia. And I'm thankful that I was raised in Georgia. I left the state only because the Army sent me. I went to West Point. And I'm very proud of that service. And if anybody wants to attack that service, the Army sent me to West Point, which is in New York. I'm very proud of that. The Army brought me down to Fort Benning, where I live outside of Fort Benning with my wife in Columbus. I was also deployed to Ukraine. It took me away. But even during that time, I was still working in the interest of our country. And so I'm proud to stand on that record. I'm proud of all the folks in our district who have signed up to serve in the military. And I'm thankful that we got back to our district as soon as we could.
All right, and that concludes the first round of this debate. The candidates will now ask a question to their opponent. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to ask the question, 60 seconds to respond, and the candidate who asks the question will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Each candidate will go twice. So by random selection, Chris West, you may begin with the first question.
Jeremy, you suggested that we've said some untruths or some lies. And one of those is about where you've been living. So we've both been out campaigning and working hard in the district. And it's important that the person that is elected to represent this district know the area that they represent. I'd just like for you to demonstrate to the audience that you do in fact know this district and tell us which 3 counties that the city of Jakin lies in, the city of Brinson lies in, and the city of Mock. What counties are those?
Thank you, Chris. Well, I'm happy you brought those up because I don't think you visited any of them. And I'm thankful that I won 22 of 30 counties in the primary, and I came in second in the remaining 8. I'm the only candidate. You yourself have not even visited the 30 counties in our district. That's why we won our rural counties, where Jakin's located in Early County. We won a lot of these counties. I won Webster and Stewart County by 70% because we show up. And that's what our campaign is about fighting for our values and fighting for our rural areas. That's also why I'm proud to say that I've been endorsed by the sheriffs of counties all over our district. The sheriffs support me and endorse me over you, Chris, because they know that I will fight for us. The chair of the Senate Ag Committee, Senator Larry Walker, put his neck out there, doesn't even make endorsements, but went out of his way to endorse me over you because he knows that the farmers can trust me. And I've been on farms throughout our district fighting for our values. They know that, and that's why they've gotten behind me. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hunt, the next question is for you.
Yeah. Well, records show, Chris, that you took $20,000 of taxpayer money in the form of COVID PPP loans for your law firm. Of course, the law firm only has one employee, you. So are you going to give back the $20,000 that you took from taxpayers in our district?
So, yes, during COVID and at a time when my wife had just had twins and was unable to work, we took advantage of the program that President Trump helped provide to be able to sustain our business. And those funds have been repaid. But what Jeremy...
Were they repaid or forgiven?
They were forgiven as part of the program. That's right. But what Jeremy is trying to detract from here is the over $1.2 million that has been paid from primarily about 90% have come from outside of this district. And what that shows is a potential to be influenced largely by people who are not from this district. And whereas on the other hand, about 90% of the funds that we've received in this campaign have come from people within this district and people from Middle and South Georgia.
Mr. Hunt, do you have a rebuttal there?
Absolutely. I mean, as you can see, Chris obviously had to acknowledge that he took $20,000 of taxpayer money, even though if you look at his personal financial disclosure, he makes close to $200,000 a year. But he took $20,000 for his law firm to bail out that has one employee himself. I don't think we need more people in Washington like Chris and like Sanford Bishop that go up there, make money, get rich off the backs of taxpayers. You can trust me because you can look at my track record. I stand for our values. I fight for our district. And I want to thank you all for putting me in first place in our primary. We got to finish the deal on June 21st.
All right, Mr. West, now time for your second question.
Jeremy, you've been asked on the campaign trail whether or not you're still in law school. And I'd just like for you to just be open with the people of the viewers and the people of this district. Are you still in law school, and what is your current employment status right now?
I appreciate that question, Chris. Well, as you know, I served in the Army as an active duty Army officer. I graduated from West Point and went on and commissioned as an active duty Army intelligence officer, rose to the rank of captain and served for over 5.5 years. And then after that point, I decided to start at law school. And I'm thankful that I'm still enrolled at Yale Law School. I do it online. In fact, you'll be happy to know I passed all my classes. And then the same week in which I came in first place in our primary, winning 22 out of 30 counties. So I'm very proud of that. I'm full-time on the campaign trail, and we're going to defeat Sanford Bishop in November.
And Mr. West, I did miss a rebuttal opportunity for you earlier, so I do want to give you at this point 60 seconds to respond at this point.
Well, thank you for that. So we need someone who is going to be focused on beating Sanford Bishop. Going to law school is challenging, I know, because I've been there. And facing your third year of law school brings up a lot of questions. I appreciate Jeremy finally answering the question, but we need somebody who's going to be engaged in beating Sanford Bishop and working hard to do that.
And of course, going to law school did not stop me from visiting all 30 counties in our district, something that my colleague here couldn't do.
All right, and Mr. Hunt, you get the final question in this round.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Chris another opportunity just to explain about the $20,000 he took from taxpayers. Because, of course, right when he took that $20,000, he then went on to loan his campaign $50,000 of his own money in his attack ads against me. So somehow during all this time, you took $20,000, and then months later, you spent $50,000 for your campaign against me. How was that ethical? You're a lawyer. Can you explain that to us?
Well, I think your timeline is a little skewed. We took the funds during COVID, and
last year,
and those have been forgiven, and those were not funds that were used to put into my campaign. So that's patently false.
Okay, so just a matter of
months. You do have a
rebuttal. Yeah, so just a matter of months after receiving $20,000 of your taxpayer money, he went and spent that $50,000 loan to support his campaign of his attack ads against me. Folks, that is not ethical. That we deserve better representation. And we've been dealing with this for 30 years at Sanford Bishop. All this moving money around, trying to take advantage. Many voters have asked me, how do we know that you will fight for us? How do we know you won't be seduced by power and money in Washington? And you can see right now, you got to look at our track record. And you look at Chris's, you see you get more of the same, these D.C. establishment, politics as usual, negative campaigning. We are ready for something new in our district, and it's going to take something new to defeat Sanford Bishop. I'm the next generation conservative who you can trust.
I think I deserve a rebuttal there. He brought some additional facts
yes,
there.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that. So, again, Jeremy is trying to detract, to move your attention away from the fact that his campaign has either taken or spent on behalf from PACs, Washington, D.C. special interest money, $1.2 million. My campaign has spent $160,000. We were outspent at a ratio of 8-1. But if you look at the primary where the voters looked and they determined that our campaign they only outbeat us by about it was 35 to 30%, 36 to 30%.
Thank you, sir. We're now going to move on to our next round.
You mentioned me, so I think
we really are running out of time. We're going to move on to our next round of this debate. That concludes our second round. For those of you just joining us, this is the runoff debate between Republican candidates for Congressional District 2. So we will now go back to our panel to ask questions of the candidates of their choice until we run out of time. And as a point of moderator privilege, I may ask some questions of the candidates myself as well. I will then determine when a rebuttal is appropriate. Nick Wooten, you get the first question in this round.
My question is to both candidates regarding gun control. President Biden has stated his message pretty clear on what he wants done. Do you support a ban on assault weapons or high-capacity magazines? Do you support universal background checks, red flag laws, and a repeal of immunity that protects gun manufacturers from legal liability if their weapons are used in violence? Jeremy, you first.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, my wife and I, we've been praying for the people in Uvalde and the Buffalo shooting. It is horrible what's happened in our country. We clearly have a crisis right now, that we have young boys wanting to go and commit these atrocities. And so first and foremost, before we get into some of these Democrat proposals, what we need to do first is secure our schools. We have to invest in law enforcement to make sure that we have folks who are securing and keeping our kids safe. That's first and foremost. Secondly, we need to invest in mental health care. We have had guns in our country for a very long time. That is part of the American way. Protecting the Second Amendment is a top priority for me. But what has changed in the last few years is this are young men who have been just infiltrated with all this negativity on social media and everything. And now we have a serious mental health crisis that's leading to some of these horrible, despicable atrocities. But I refuse to accept any of these Democrat proposals that lay the blame at law-abiding gun owners in our district. I think it is wrong, and we need to focus on the things that will actually bring together a solution.
All right, that's your time, Mr. West.
So I'm a strong 2A guy. I'm a strong Second Amendment and gun advocate. And for the folks who are Second Amendment advocates and enjoy their rights, they know that the Democrats, it's the next thing, whatever the narrative is, to try to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. And we can't go there, and I refuse to go down the path with them. Yeah, it's tragic what's happened in the shooting recently at the school in Texas, but we cannot give the Democrats not one opportunity, or rhinos, Republicans that will look for an opportunity to infringe on our rights and take some more of our money and spend it somewhere else where it doesn't need to be spent. The strongest, if you're looking for somebody to protect your Second Amendment right, that's Chris West. That's me. If you want to vote to secure, to protect, no equivocations, your Second Amendment right, vote for Chris West.
Ross Williams, your turn now to ask questions.
Kind of along the same lines, this is also for both of you. Given that you both say you're strong Second Amendment defenders, what concrete steps could you take if elected to, stop these mass shootings or protect Americans from them? And we can start with Mr. West.
Well, I think the best way to protect somebody against violence with a gun is with your own right to protect yourself with your own weapon. So, in the event of school shootings, I would say let's make sure that we have teachers and personnel that can have the right to defend themselves. Whenever I go onto the base as a National Guardsman at Robins Air Force Base, I have to leave my concealed weapon at home. I do that to abide by the law, by the DOD policy that's set down. But I feel less safe whenever I do that. So for me, having an opportunity to be able to protect myself, I want to provide that opportunity for more Americans. And I applaud our legislature for what they've done here in Georgia to pass constitutional carry. A lot of us have worked for a long time, a lot of good guys that have worked a lot harder on it than I have. But fortunately, we were able to get that passed here in Georgia for constitutional carry. I think that's a great step.
Mr. Hunt?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we have to make sure we're getting the mental health care for our kids. Right now, several parts of our district, we were down in Webster County, and folks were just explaining how you have to drive for over an hour to even see a doctor. Access to health care is a major issue in our district, and I'm sick of Democrats giving lip service, whereas we as Republicans need to get things done and make sure we are getting the mental health service. That's number one. Secondly, we have to fund our law enforcement. Remember, Sanford Bishop went along with the whole Democrat gang going on saying we need to defund the police. We in the 2nd District, we stand to support our law enforcement, and I'm thankful to receive the endorsements of 6 sheriffs around our district who trust me to make sure that we will fund our law enforcement, and that's a number one priority. And so those are the types of things that we have to do to get to come together to make sure that we don't have these types of horrible atrocities being committed anymore.
Nick Wooten, now to you.
Jeremy, you brought up medical access. I actually have a question about that I'd like to ask. Many residents in Southwest Georgia have limited access to health care.
Yeah.
The Southwest Georgia Regional Medical Center in Cuthbert closed in October 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. What policies would you support to expand access to affordable, quality health care? And would that include expanding Medicaid? This is for both candidates, but I'll ask Mr. West to go first.
Federal expansion, no. Usually anytime the federal government gets involved to expand something that has a negative consequence on the people of this country. Rural health care, critical. It's absolutely critical. As somebody who has lived my entire life in Southwest Georgia, it's something that I understand. Some of the commercial developments that our company has done have actually been able to provide a way to provide jobs, sustainability in communities that are hurting economically over the past several years. And we've been able to create job opportunities and economic development that has allowed hospitals to be sustainable. The medical college in Colquitt County is the one I'm thinking of right offhand, where we did a grocery store development that helped sustain the community, in addition to some other retail jobs that were been provided that helped allow a medical college to be able to come to provide for more doctors so that more doctors would be able to stay in Middle and South Georgia and be able to provide adequate health
and
care.
that's your time, sir. Mr. Hunt?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we have to create options. You know, I was just talking to one of my friends who's a farmer down in Mitchell County, and he was explaining how so many of our farmers right now, they're having to make a choice with their employees. Either they can go and give them Obamacare, or they're going to have to end up spending all these ridiculous amount of money in order to provide health care for their employees. So we had to create options so it doesn't have to be this kind of false dichotomy between those two options. So that's first and foremost. And when we know, and I'm definitely a free market capitalist, when we have more options, people get better health care and get better access to health care. So that's got to be number one. And then number two, you talk about rural health care, we have to start showing up. You know, the reason why I've been endorsed by so many leaders in our rural areas is because we did the work of showing up. You know, you talk about Cuthbert, we're going to be in Cuthbert next week. We'd love anybody to come and join us. We're going to be there at a coffee shop there talking about the issues and listening, because we can't have people coming into our district, Stacey Abrams saying, oh, we're going to build a hospital, having all these promises that she has no intention of keeping. Sanford Bishop has given the same lines for 30 years while our rural communities have seen their communities crumble.
All right, and
we
that's
show
your
up and give
time.
answers.
Thank you so much. Ross Williams, would you bring us our next question? Or
I actually had a follow-up.
You did? Okay, go ahead.
Just to clarify, Jeremy, would you support expansion of Medicaid, yes or no?
No. I support creating more options for our communities, and we do that through free market, getting government out of the way so that our people can get access to health care, and they don't have to drive hours to get to a hospital. There are things we can do right now to make that a reality.
Mr. West, is there a rebuttal for you?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Ross, now to you for the final question.
I'd like to ask both of you, starting with Mr. Hunt, you know, in your conversations with voters in your district, what ways are inflation affecting their lives, and what can you do if you're elected to help alleviate that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we all know that inflation is a tax on the poor. And we know that our grocery stores have been empty. We know that, and when they are full, they're paying like 2-3 times as much. Right now, our farmers are paying 4 times as much for fertilizer. And diesel costs are sky high. And they're paying way, and it's gotten out of control because we know that we have a president, Joe Biden, who declared war on American energy his first day in office and is not allowing us to drill here to create the oil and so we can get our gas prices down. There are things that we can do to get our inflation down and make sure that our community has a chance.
That's your time, sir. Mr. West?
So I approach this question as a business guy, somebody who has been working in this economy and have seen subcontractors, you know, challenged at how are they going to be able to provide for their employees, their roofers, electricians, folks that work for them, worried about how they're going to get to work with these $4 or $5 a gallon gas and diesel prices. And it is hurting our folks. But that's why there is a red wave coming. That's why we're going to beat Sanford Bishop. That's why I'm the right guy to do it, because I understand these businesses, these small businessmen and women, and the hurt that they're feeling. Right. And we're going to push back against this Biden policy agenda.
Mr. West, that is your time. Thank you so much. That is all the time we have now for questions. At this point, each candidate will now have 60 seconds for a closing statement. Jeremy Hunt, you get the first closing statement.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here and everyone tuning in at home. Let me say this. Right now, I know that you are suffering. I know that our streets are being families being terrorized by crime in Columbus and Macon and Albany. I know that our school systems are not producing the outcomes that they should be, that our students are not getting an adequate education. Healthcare is a problem. The gas prices are going up. We are living in Joe Biden's economy. This year, we have an opportunity to fight back and defeat Sanford Bishop once and for all. I am the only person in this race who can make that a reality. I can build the coalitions it will take to flip this seat. We're not going to be able to do it on our own. We've got to go out and get voters who are with us, who are aligned with us in values. That's why we've been in churches all around the district for the first time, never had a Republican speak, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to bring our message and unite people around our conservative values. Our farmers are on our side. I'm happy to be endorsed by them, happy to be endorsed by our sheriffs. I'm happy to be endorsed by you. And I thank you for having us come in first place. Let's finish the deal on June 21st.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chris West, please give us your final closing statement.
My name is Chris West. Thank you for allowing me to participate. I'm an America First fighter. I'm an officer in the Air Force and the Air National Guard. I'm a job creator. I'm a local, homegrown conservative with a proven record. What we need to defeat Sanford Bishop is a fighter, someone who's going to go up and represent the middle and southwest Georgia. So it's not someone who has just moved here 3 months ago, who has been bought and paid for by Washington, D.C. special interests. That's not what we need. That's just Sanford Bishop with an R by their name. We need somebody who is a proven, strong conservative. I'd ask you to check out our website at chriswestga.com. Check out my social media history if you'd like to take a close, in-depth look. I'm Chris West. I would appreciate your vote.
All right, and that concludes our debate. We would like to thank Ross Williams with the Georgia Recorder and Nick Wooten with the Ledger Enquirer for their time. And we would also like to remind all voters that Election Day is Tuesday, June 21st. Our thanks to the candidates for being with us, and again, in addition to our journalists here on the panel. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for arranging today's debate, and for more information about the debates that they will hold in the future as this election season continues, visit atlantapressclub.org. I'm Jennifer Bellamy, and thank you for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series.